Today, I'll explain In Time, an action, sci-fi, and thriller about genetically modified humans who stop aging at 25. One caveat: humans have 1 year to live after 25. A person's life is shown on their forearm with a timer, and time is now the currency. Poor people live paycheck to paycheck, while rich people can live forever. Will wakes up to less than 24 hours. He descends to greet his 50th birthday mother, Rachel. Talking about money ends their celebration. Rachel reminds Will of bills and loans on her 3-day time limit. Will promises to provide the funds. Rachel plans to work for 2 days and pay a loan. She tells Will to meet her at a bus station to give her more time. She gives him 30 minutes to buy a good lunch. He kisses her goodbye before leaving for work. A child, Maya, meets Will on his way to work. Will happily approves her 5-minute request and sends her away smiling. He meets his friend Borel at work. Will makes time storage devices in a factory. He clocks out and gets paid after a long day. Will demands more money because his payment is low, but the distributor says the quota has increased and he didn't meet it. Will later meets some men at a local bar who invite him to gamble, but he refuses after reminding one that he owes him an hour. Will spends an hour with Borel. A drunk Borel points to someone who's buying drinks for everyone. The man has over a century, he says. Will notices someone watching Henry and tells him. The man refuses Will's request to leave because he's attracting attention. Everyone at the bar rushes out when men enter. Borel tells Will they're robbers and extortionists, Minutemen. Though Borel pulls Will away, Will plans to watch. Borel leaves him after he promises not to do anything stupid. Fortis, the leader, wants Henry's time and offers to fight for it. Henry is queasy and goes to the bathroom. He vomits as a Minuteman watches. Will rushes in, knocks him out, and takes Henry. Fortis and his men pursue Will and Henry as they flee. After climbing over a gate and hiding in an abandoned building, they escape. The Minutemen almost catch them, but when one tells Fortis he recognizes Will, they give up. Henry tells Will he's 105 when they meet. He acts rashly because his mind is exhausted and he wants death. Will gets mad because he and his mother work multiple jobs to survive. Henry then reveals their horrific world secrets. Rich people raise prices, causing poor people to die and giving the rich more time. Everyone has plenty of time. Rich and powerful people are blinded by greed and immortality. Will is asked by Henry what he would do with equal time. Will says he won't waste time like Henry. Henry contemplates Will's words and rests. Morning arrives, and Henry devotes all but 5 minutes to a sleeping Will. When Will wakes up, he has over a century in his time. Henry is sitting on a bridge when he looks for him. While counting down his final seconds, Henry smiles and falls into the river. Will later finds Greta, Borel's wife, holding their newborn. Will asks Borel, who tells him his time, and Borel asks what he will do. Will wants justice now that he knows the truth. Before leaving, Will gives Borel. Borel eyes the bar across the street with his fortune. Rachel pays a 2-day loan and tries to take the bus, but the fare has gone up. She begs the driver and passengers, but they ignore her. In desperation, she runs. Rachel faces death with every second and step as they race against time. Finally, they meet. Rachel and Will run fast, but die. Dead Rachel enters Will's arms. Will cries, knowing they were seconds from their dream life. Will has all the time he wants, but his mother doesn't. The next day, timekeepers retrieve Henry's body from the river. Raymond, the senior timekeeper, and Jaeger, his junior, investigate. Raymond spots a bridge camera as they leave. In a car, Will wears a new suit and a new expression. They leave the time zone, a social class divide. They pay a rising toll at each border on his trip. The last border costs Will a year, and the driver welcomes him to New Greenwich. Will says he came to New Greenwich to make the locals pay when the driver asks him why. Will is completely unfamiliar with the city. He runs immediately after exiting the car, used to living on little time. He stares at his arm and acts like he has all the time in the world. He already attracted Sylvia. Will requests a suite at a hotel. Will wakes up 105 years old in his luxurious room. Even though he sleeps in the most comfortable bed in the best room, his mother's death haunts him. This is his first time trying gourmet food and drinks. He pays for his meal and tips the waitress weekly. Will acts faster than everyone else. According to the waitress, Will jokes that he doesn't finish fast in important things. Will must change clothes before entering the casino. Will appears in the timekeeper's headquarters surveillance footage. A man crossed multiple borders to reach New Greenwich, according to Yeager. They learn more about Will on the computer, and Raymond says he knows his father. Will sits at a casino poker table. Philippe, an ancient billionaire, meets Will as the dealer deals. Will's poker winnings after a few rounds exceed 2 centuries. Phil boosts the pot by 50 years. Will calls confidently, and the river is the 6 of diamonds. Will looks at Sylvia, Philippe's beautiful companion, instead of the game. Philippe reveals almost 10 millennia by rolling up his sleeves. He then defends the huge wealth gap as natural selection. He adds 2 centuries. Will bites and calls, leaving his arm with 30 seconds. Will wins and gets a millennium. This energized Philippe's dull life. He sees Will looking at Sylvia and asks if she's his grandmother, mother, or wife. Will calls her lovely. Philippe introduces her as his daughter and invites him to a party. Will drives his winnings to Philippe's mansion the next day in a new car. There, he meets 3 generations of sisters-like women. Will looks out of place in high society. Sylvia rescues him from a lonely night. They chat and dance after getting to know each other. Will doesn't answer her question about his ghetto origins. Sylvia tells him about her meaningless life and how time binds her instead of freeing her. Philippe and her wife watch them, so Will leads Sylvia to the beach. Will and Sylvia undress and dove. Naked and inches apart, they float on the ocean with moonlight on their arms. Although Sylvia distances herself, the waves draw her closer. Someone on the shore shouts, interrupting the romance. Philippe invites Will to poker after they return. However, the timekeepers enter and confront Will. Raymond introduces himself in an office. He wonders why he's in New Greenwich and how he has millennia. Will honestly says Henry gave it to him, committing suicide. Raymond doubts his explanation, blocks his time, and arrests him. Will asks him why he investigates suicide when ghetto murders occur daily as he leaves. Raymond is shocked by his statement because it recalls Will's father. Will then runs to hold Sylvia hostage after attacking the timekeepers. They enter through the kitchen and drive off in his car. Will loses control after Raymond rams his car during a car chase. Will expertly dodges a truck in reverse. They hide under a bridge after losing the timekeepers. Will requests Sylvie's time. She declines. They hit traffic spikes on highways in the morning. They crash after a tire punctures. Fortis's men approach the unconscious couple. Despite taking time from Sylvia, they leave quickly, giving her 30 minutes. Will gives her a few minutes, and they run for more. Will knocks with 3 minutes left on Borrell's door. Greta tells Will Borrell died from alcohol poisoning. Sylvia is panicking with only a few minutes left. Will spots her earring, so they rush to the jeweler. Since they're desperate, he underpays and offers 2 days. Will agrees, and they hide when the timekeeper's sirens sound. Walking around the city, they discuss Sylvia's family business. Her response to Will's question about their value is that it's too much to know. Will phones Raymond and asks Philippe to give the ghetto city 1,000 years for Sylvia. Raymond warns him that continuing will kill him like his father. Will says his father died fighting, but Raymond says he was doing something more dangerous. Sylvia settles into Will's apartment at night. Will tells her about her mother's death when she asks about his family. He recalls his father's gambling, but on a different game. His father played a time-based gambling game. His father won a lot, but his generosity killed him. They discover their similar ages and bond as they learn about each other's pasts. Morning comes, and he sees if Philippe keeps his promise. Sylvia is disappointed with her father because Will doesn't transfer time. Will plans to release Sylvia despite not having time. She kisses him after he takes her to the phone booth and gives her a gun as a goodbye. She calls her father to chastise him for not fulfilling Will's wishes. Will is behind her in the conversation, unaware of Raymond's gun. Sylvia immediately shoots Raymond when she sees him. Will points a gun at a bleeding Raymond, but instead of waiting, he gives him some, and they drive away in his car. Sylvia asks if he has plans while parked on the main road. They block an unfortunate driver as timekeepers in a cop car. Will and the driver are startled when Sylvia fires too easily. They steal from the passenger and take the new car. Both watch the news about them in the backseat later that day. Will says Sylvia can return to her father, but she doesn't want to return to her boring life. Will kisses again, now with time to do more. Philippe tells his partners he didn't pay the ransom in his office. They doubt he can solve this, but Raymond enters before Philippe can explain. He informs Philippe that her daughter refuses rescue. Philippe apologizes and blames Stockholm Syndrome for his daughter's stubbornness. Raymond refuses and threatens to arrest his daughter. Raymond ignores Philippe's time offer and leaves. Sylvia learns gunfire the next day from Will. When they discuss Will's plan to give time to the people, she offers to help him. A truck crashes through the glass at the local loaning institution. Two thieves steal as much time as possible storing devices. They urge borrowers to take as much time as they want, and they rush in. Later that day, Will gives Greta, Maya, and the timeline distributor charity time. Fortis persists in harassing and killing. He then sees a 10-year reward for Will and Sylvia's capture. Philippe watches his daughter's constant theft attempts on the news. Later that night, Raymond and the timekeepers surround their motel. Will and Sylvia jump out the window to escape being surrounded. Raymond follows them through dark alleyways and streets. As they climb the roofs, a shootout begins. They board a bus, losing Raymond. Fortis searches for Will and Sylvia. He threatens to steal time while questioning a group. A man claims to know where someone is after they die. They discuss their upcoming challenges on the motel couch. Both know they'll die if caught. Sylvia felt more alive than ever during their time together, and every time they almost died. Fortis's men break the door suddenly. Fortis lets Will play for his life out of generosity. Will takes Fortis's strong-arm challenge. Will struggles until his final seconds, then turns it around when Fortis loses focus. His eyes grow fearful as his subordinates approach the table. Will pulls a gun from his ankle and shoots everyone while draining Fortis. Will and Sylvia watch prices rise from a rooftop. Will despairs, saying the rich will raise living costs every time they steal. He claims only 1,000,000 years will matter. Sylvia agrees, but she has a plan. Philippe enters a building with many bodyguards the next day. They notice Sylvia, who asks for her father. Will, a guard, points a gun at Philippe's head. He orders the guards to disarm and they kidnap Philippe. A 1,000,000-year device is in his office's time vault. Philippe argues that society will fail if that time goes to the wrong people. He claims that immortality seekers will always sacrifice others. Will loses control and points a gun at him, but he calms down. Philippe is told by Will that immortality is not worth one life. The two depart. Police cars block the main road. Will and Sylvia miraculously survive the timekeeper's gunfire by ramming the toll booth to cross the border. Raymond keeps going after them. Raymond crashes into them as they approach safety in the ghetto. He survives and asks Maya to distribute 1,000,000 years. Raymond points a gun at the two, but the crowd blocks his view, letting them escape. After Raymond hijacks a car, the chase continues. Finally, they fight in the street. Raymond is from the ghetto, and as he learned to escape poverty, he realized that the rich-poor gap must be maintained. Raymond realizes he's out of time as they talk. After his sudden death, the two try to replenish theirs. They sprint toward Raymond's car with seconds left. Will arrives first and gets his time. He rushes to Sylvie, who has seconds. Both run into each other's arms in time and live another day. Citizens cross borders into more expensive areas. Minutemen watch their social hierarchy collapse. In their usual routine, Sylvie and Will visit a huge time bank. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.